feel like the energy's really up after that. Good morning. It is good to be with y'all. You gonna flip that up there? Give it up for Lindsay, your beautiful communications director who's been helpful. So Doris, Tracy, Jennifer, and I are just part of a large community that all wish they could be here with you. So I wanted to put a slide up so you could see what we look like. This is us outside of our place in Nashville, Tennessee. If you want to learn more about it, if you want to follow the journey, the best way is Becca Stevens, the @ symbol on Instagram. You can direct message me. I've been, I think, one of the 2 or 3 people using Instagram at this conference with the hashtag that Lindsay set up at the bottom. Anyway, so that we can stay in touch and keep this going, whatever it is we need. One of the things that I love is that in spite of all the harshness of social media stuff, we probably get more referrals through social media than any other way in our community. We've had families reunited through it. There's a way for us to connect, and it's a big part of how we understand how we get this good news out into the world, that we can multiply. So don't really silence yourself. Really use them for the good, and you can do it while we're talking or while you're up. We'll do selfies with you up at the booth. We'll sign books. You can put it out there, but continuing to get this good news about how love heals out in the world is really one of our goals and one of the things we love to do. And it's really one of the great tools for fighting human trafficking and meeting these needs. And what I want to talk about this morning is really what leadership looks like in addressing these beautiful human needs that we all share and have. The statistics are that 1 in 7 men and 1 in 4 women will experience sexual assault. And how we meet that kind of vast need means that we need community, and that's a little bit of what I talked about last night, is how we equip ourselves to do that in this world. And I do think, one of my favorite, I talked to a group of educators, and somebody came up and said, I'd really like for you to speak at my school, my high school, but it's an all-boys high school. Like, what would you have to say? And I was like, I can think of a few things. We need to be preaching about what it looks like to have safe communities for kids. We need to use our pulpits. We need to use our schools. We need to use our places to talk about how we do participate both in the brokenness and the healing of our communities. That part of the reason that sexual assault for children is so prevalent is that we keep it secret still. What if we told it? What if we did talk about it more? What if we did really name it as a safe place? What if we talked about the use of pornography and how that participates in the whole issue of human trafficking? How about if we talked about how people come to church bifurcating themselves? This is the part of me that does this. This is the part of me that does this. But we're going to be a safe place where we can bring this together and love each other and come wholly and fully. That's part of, I think, wait, what happened? Did it go away? So, don't touch it. Y'all can see me, right? Plus, it's all shadowy, and that I tried to take a picture of somebody up in there, and it was shadowy. But what I want to say is that I came to this work pretty honestly. My dad was an Episcopal priest from Connecticut. I was born in Connecticut, as you can tell from my accent. My mom was 35 years old. They have 5 children. They were moved down to Tennessee to start an Episcopal church in 1968. In the same year, my dad was killed by a drunk driver in a car accident. My mom was left with 5 kids. Now, my dad was an old school Episcopal priest who died believing that the end of the church would be if women were ever allowed to be acolytes. That's true, by the way. About 6 months after he died, the senior warden in the church began to sexually abuse me in the church. And it began in the fellowship hall of the church during a spaghetti supper. And my memory is I was upstairs in the fellowship hall, And I don't know how it happened that I had been left alone in that space with him, but my biggest fear was dropping the plate of spaghetti and thinking I was going to be in trouble. I didn't have the words to talk about what happened to me. I didn't understand it for years. I knew I was confused. I knew I was scared of things. I knew I was mad. And I promise you, it was also parts of the church, like the Episcopal church women, that saved me, that gave me grounding. They gave me scholarships to go to school. So I knew both the good and the bad that can happen in community, the grace and the fear that can happen in both functioning and dysfunctioning communities, and how we can do it better and how we can be safer. So I knew growing up and when I went to school, that I wanted to create what I really believed was a safe community. But like many, many people, life goes on, you get busy. I got married to a singer-songwriter in Nashville, Tennessee. He got signed to a record deal. He was on the road. I was ordained. I had a baby, and I was pregnant with another baby. And my son was about 4 years old. Now, my dad, like I said, was really conservative, and I didn't know much about him. Never heard a sermon he preached. Heard some stories from my mom. But when I got ordained, she gave me this prayer book, the 1928 Book of Common Prayer. And what I learned about my dad in that prayer book was all the services that he had conducted as a priest were all perfectly intact. But it was his daily prayers that he prayed that were completely worn through and held together with Scotch tape. That he had prayed those every day, and that he had tried, and that's what I wanted to live like. I wanted to be faithful like my dad. In one of the pages that when my mom gave me his prayer book at my ordination, a little piece of paper fell out, and it was the only piece of paper of my dad's that I have. And all it said was, "In the shadow of his cross, may your soul find rest." In other words, in the midst of the struggle, keep looking for peace. Keep looking for grounding. That's what I wanted to do, and that's why I wanted to establish these communities. So like I said, I had a 4-year-old son. I was pregnant with my second. My husband was on the road. I've been married to him 30 years, and I didn't divorce him during that time, so I never will. It was cray-cray. So what I was doing instead was going to a program and feeding women who were on the streets. I was part of a feeding program. But I had this idea of what we could do better, how we could really love women who had gone through so much trauma, that the roots, of trafficking and addiction and prostitution really lie in childhood ACEs and trauma. And some of the same background that I had experienced, but had this safety net that had held me together. But I didn't do it. I just did this feeding program. Our son was about 4.5 years old. Our oldest one is at this time. We asked him what he wanted to be when he grew up. And I said, maybe you could be a singer or songwriter like your daddy. No. And his dad said, well, maybe you want to be a priest. And he goes, ooh, no, that's a girl job. And I was like, things change pretty quickly, don't they? I go from you can't be an acolyte to no, guys don't want to do that. They wear dresses, gross. So we were out feeding the women. It happened to be in front of the oldest strip club in Nashville, Tennessee called the Classic Cat. It has an 8-foot sign of a woman dressed in just a memory of a cat suit. I was trying to put my son in the car seat, pregnant with my next one, and I was trying to get him in there. And he was doing that thing that little kids do. It's like Olympic back bend, and you just can't get him in. And I realized he's looking up at this sign, and he goes, Mama, why is that lady smiling? And the question was almost heartbreaking, thinking, what an innocent question. And someday he's not going to ask it. It's going to fade into the landscape that we accept as a culture that still buys and sells women probably cheaper than cats. And I thought, I'm doing it right now. I'm going to open a home, and I'm going to remind the women that I get to serve of the dignity and their beauty and grace. 2 years free with no authority in the house. Make the houses, build them like you would build a cathedral. put everything you have into it. It's still cheaper than prison, where we'll spend $85,000 a year on a woman. If we spent that in our communities around healing, it's radical. So we opened houses, we kept going. My son grew up with all the women at Thistle Farms. His first babysitter that carried us through the years when Regina was just working part-time, one of the first 5 residents. She ended up being the national director of outreach. My son did grow up in this beautiful community that has become global and thriving. And he did become a singer and songwriter like his daddy. And he recently just came back and wrote the theme song for us with his dad, my husband, called Love Heals. Allison Krauss sang background. And so when we opened the cafe at Thistle Farms and renovated it, and we welcomed people from all over the world, he came in and he sang the song to celebrate his life and the ministry of Thistle Farms in this beautiful little video. For 21 years, Thistle Farms has been a witness to the truth that in the end, love is the most powerful force for change in the world.
Hate kills, birds fly, rocks roll, and tears cry, and love heals. Whiskey burns, and records scratch, wheels turn, sparks catch, and love heals. Oh, I've never seen a broken heart, one shattered and torn apart, that could not come back together. And I've never known a life so heavy, couldn't stand on legs unsteady, and one day run light as a feather. Baby, here's a deal. Love heals. Sunsets, suns rise, on regrets and alibis. Dreamers dream, some dreams come true. We're caught between a hell that's coffee black and heaven that's sky blue. Oh, I've never seen a broken heart, one shattered and torn apart, that could not come back together. Oh, I've never known a life so heavy, couldn't stand on legs unsteady, and one day run light as a feather. Baby, here's a deal. Love heals. And everything that's shiny one day gets broke. It's some kind of mystery, but this much I know. Love heals.
He's cute, right? So cute. So there's a lot of reason, though, it's hard for us to engage, especially around these global issues that so many of us have borne on our individual backs. It's a lot. And we feel like, what difference will it make if we do this small thing? Or how can we feel not let ourselves numb out about it and just sit there and watch, whatever, Law and Order chill out for hours and just numb out in this world, whatever it is, or that people are going to judge us, or there's fear that we're going to get it wrong, because all of that is there. And we will get it wrong. And that's what I loved about those readings that you guys picked so much last night, is that love covers a multitude of sins. That if we're meeting the human need in love, we can get past the fears and past the numbness into this deep place where we do well up with gratitude. What makes me weepy in this world is not the horrific stories I've heard over and over again. Really, what makes me weepy is the kindness of people. The absolute generosity. You guys have loved us since we've come in here. We're the ones weepy, so grateful for how you've been, and that's what happens when we go out past these things to meet the needs. I think the other problem is sometimes the church has given us this idea, especially as the leadership, that we always have to be inspired to do this work. It makes me crazy. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're not always inspired, but you have to act like you're always inspired. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't show up on a Sunday morning and go like, you know what, I am not feeling it, not going to preach today. Everybody's like, no, you preach. That's what you're paid to do. But like, as a parent, like, it doesn't matter like if I'm inspired to cook. I have 3 sons. They have never once said, are you feeling like you want to cook? It's like they want food. And that's how it is with farmers. It's like nobody cares if you're inspired to water and weed the plants. It's like that's your job. This is our job. Our job is to love the world whether we're inspired or not. And don't put that pressure on yourself sometimes. Trust that the inspiration will come if we keep faithful to this work and keep doing it. I remember I was out in Omaha in November. Have you been to Omaha in November? And I love Omaha. I love the people, love the diocese, but it was really gray, and I was feeling very, very gray. I was having that feeling of like I'm just overwhelmed, numb, scared, all of those kinds of feelings that come with grayness. Went out there anyway, and the entire weekend, the sky was gray, the buildings were gray, the trees were gray, the grass was gray. It was all like just shades of gray. Not 50, but I'm saying many shades of gray. I didn't mean it like saying that. Hang on. I'm saying it's not. I don't know why. So get out there. I do what we're supposed to do. We're opening a new house from Trinity Church, the Episcopal Church out there. Cutting the ribbon on the house, cutting the ribbon on the new social enterprise that they're going to start. Do everything we're supposed to. And like always, I travel with amazing women, many of whom have never flown or done anything before. Just so much wasted time. The woman I was traveling with that weekend, she had been in foster care. She ran away after 6th grade because so much horrific stuff had been happening to her, and she never looked back. So she spent her teenage years on the streets and in detention centers, and then we did what we do. We graduated her to prison. So she had never flown before. She came out and she did a beautiful job. She loved it, and I kept saying, I'm so sorry, your very first flight is, to Omaha in November. Why can't you go to Wilmington? It's so pretty right on the river. Get on the plane. It's like 8 o'clock Sunday night. We're back, and I'm thinking, I'm just going to cry. That's how I feel. And to make matters worse, she doesn't really understand the cardinal rule of don't cross the armrest on a plane. And so I was sitting like this, trying to be nice, and then I realized she's pushed me all the way over, and we're about 20,000 feet up, and she's taking pictures out the window on her camera. And she's seeing the top side of a cloud for the first time, and it happens to be a super new moon. Full moon, super moon. And everything gray is gone as I'm looking out the window, and the moon is haloed, and the clouds aren't gray. They have these beautiful, beautiful outlines of purples and reds. The vast expanse of interstellar space. And this galaxy, our island home. And Sophia looks at me and she says, I didn't know that there was a sky above the clouds. I was like, oh God, Sophia, I'm good for another 5 years. I forget that there's people that don't know there's something beyond the gray. That whatever we're feeling, that it can be lifted. And we keep doing this work and we keep meeting the needs of human needs so that we can help other people get that vision of the universe and its beauty and its potential in this world. I believe that this work, when we're meeting the human needs as congregation, what it really helps us do is it informs our worship, increases our stewardship, engages us in new evangelism, heals and creates community. We're not doing this apart from our churches. This is not simply outreach work. This deep-rooted justice work affects everything about our lives together, how we see each other. It bonds us and binds us. It makes us relevant in this world. People will come. People will flock in when they see you doing this work and saying, oh my gosh, I want to be a part of that healing work. This is life-giving. I want to feel that hope in my life. I am so grateful for this work. I'm so grateful for how it's helped me read the Gospels. And every time I read it, it's like I get it. I've had glimpses of it through the gift of this work. I believe that there are some things that people are asked to lead that are pretty simple. They're simple things, like let's say we were just making candles, and all we had to do, let's say lip balms, like Doris was talking about in the workshop. All we have to do is pour lip balms. That's simple leadership required. We need to get the supplies, fill the lip balms, send them out. That kind of leadership, we got that, right? Simple leadership. Other things are more complicated. For us now, let's say you're making 50,000 lip balms a month. We're not. Let's just say we need huge machinery. It becomes complicated, and we need professional and technicians to come in and be able to do that. We can get that kind of leadership that has that kind of expertise to come in and do it. But what we're doing is complex. And the leadership needed for that is different. It means we have to feel comfortable with the unknowns coming our way and the nuances of community building. That we have to be okay when a flood comes our way and hold each other. And by the way, it is not lost on any of us at Thistle Farms what y'all have gone through from the hurricane, and that you offered your offering to us is unbelievable. Another sign of your just great spirit and generosity. But that complex leadership is a gift. And the idea is if we don't develop leaders that feel good about this complexity of justice issues and human need and meeting them and doing things on the fly and believing in communal vision and to keep going when goals aren't met and celebrating successes and failures because love teaches us through both. If we don't have that kind of leadership, then it's chaos. Then it's dysfunction. So we need to keep thinking there is something unique about leadership in these complex things we call church lives and communities. And what that leadership calls people to do, I heard Chip Eden say it great. He's in Charlotte, North Carolina. He talked about the gift of complex leadership, asking people just show up. If you're going to meet the human needs in this world, all you got to do is just show up first. Don't freak out. Just show up. And then we got to wake up. Oh my gosh. There has been abuse of kids in our church. I have to wake up to that. I don't want to, but I have to. And then we got to freaking grow up. Grow up, meaning we educate ourselves about it. We learn about what it is to be a safe community. And we're doing that. We're growing up and waking up. Then the part that about drives us crazy is we got to clean it up. That means in our own lives, in our communal lives. What in my life do I need to change for transformation, both for leadership, for authenticity, for groundedness, so I can be better present in my family, so I can be better present at the communion table? What do I need to clean up? And how do I help a community be safe enough to do that cleanup work? And then we get to show up again. And we do it again and again in this spiritual journey of transformation so that brokenness becomes compassion for others and we feel able to meet those human needs. That's where we get to a place in that heart of it, that sweet heart, where our profession, our passion, we don't feel burnout. We get this sense that we are feeling happy in this work, purposeful. I think sometimes, honest to God, I was born for the place where the intersection of arts and crafts and justice come together. That is a very narrow set place. But when I hit it, oh my gosh, like Thistle paper. Just love it. I have energy. I'm beautiful at it. And then I need to know, like, when it's not that space where I can support other people when they're in that beautiful, sweet center. That's how a community thrives and comes together, and we can do that beautiful thing. Instead of being a hero, be a host. Be the host at the table. Be the host in the community so people can use their gifts and talents and thrive and come forward. Our ministries need to engage the world in the rule of life, to me, that is practical, specific, and consistent. And I wanted to offer you one case study for this. And then that's pretty much it. Don't you love that? Practical, specific, and consistent. I just came up with that when you were talking about the rule yesterday. That's why it's on this fancy backdrop. Huh? I'm crafty, but not technically crafty. Y'all know there's something the Episcopal Church says. The Episcopal Church welcomes you. And I was out on the road, and I was listening and watching a documentary about what was happening with the refugees that were landing in Greece. Do y'all remember seeing that 4.1? And people were coming through with their life vests. They were fleeing Syria from horrific, what's been called genocide of the kids when they were, the chemical warfare that was happening. And still, like 700 refugees last month just coming into Greece. It's monthly, it's awful. And how there were so many barriers being set up, and I was thinking about how could we be more loving and welcoming, especially to the group that I work, which is women survivors. And it dawned on me that the life vests that they were coming in, we could do something with them. And it'd be really fun to start the first social enterprise with women refugees. And we started talking to some of the groups in the camps, and they were like, no, you can't hire refugees. You can't pay refugees. You can't do this. And I was like, awesome, let's try it. So we went Holy Week in 2017 just to do the exploration. It took about 3 minutes for the women in the camp to organize themselves. Seriously. You know that whole thing, women teach a woman to fish, feeds for a lifetime. It's like women know how to fish. You know, we've been fishing for a long time. The problem is we don't have good poles sometimes to go catch the fish with, or we don't have the licenses to access the lake, or we don't have the distribution system to get our fish to the market. And that's when you have a global marketplace and you have a community like Thistle Farms that can provide those things. One of the women said, you know, my grandmothers were all working, weaving, but we have had so much war and displacement. She was in Syria as a Kurd. We have forgotten how to do that weaving. Sometimes it's just reminding women they know how to fish. So we get to the camp, 9 women, they come together. They start weaving the life vests and the blankets the UNHRC gives them, and we decide to make a welcome mat. So you can see the pieces of life vests and the pieces of the blankets that are all laundered there in the camp. And the women started weaving them. We got a plan together. By August of that year, we had a story. We had our first ready for production, and People magazine did a story on it. We've sold, I don't know, something like 1,500 mats. They've been on altars in the Episcopal Church. They've been places. 6 of the 9 original women have been reunited with their husbands in Germany, in Sweden, in England. And the average stay in a refugee camp is something like 17 years now. So it's this beautiful thing. When we first got there, none of the women would allow us to photograph them. We had to blur their faces. We could take pictures of their hands. You couldn't shoot them anywhere from the waist down. We were really respectful. We were going, like just trying to bond as community and talk about what it means. The women that were in the circle did what women do, which was the first thing they said in the camp when they got together was, we need to buy buses we need to lease buses for the entire camp so people can get their children to doctor's appointment and go see an attorney, to go get food from an actual grocery store. All of those things that we love and value as community. And it is so true that when you rape women, you kill villages, and when you heal women, immediately you begin to heal villages. And we begin to look out for each other. It's the same over and over anywhere we've gone. And the connection between human trafficking and refugees is huge. There's more than 12,000 young women missing from refugee camps now. And so that vulnerability again and violence of poverty is one of the biggest contributing factors. Anyway, we go back the next year, 12 months later, the business is going, and this is the picture they wanted us to take. I want my name out there. I'm proud. I've helped heal this community. I am a leader now in this community. I have choice about what my children wear and what they eat. This is what this work does when we engage it, when we respect the dignity and worth of every human being. So I just want to end with just one little video that we put together just a couple weeks ago when you were talking about the way of life and a rule of life, that some of the principles we live by. We made some homemade signs with some of the principles listed. My husband had written this song that I thought was perfect. A guy named Daryl Scott sung it. And I just want to share it with you as part of our way and rule of life as we try to go out and meet the needs of every human that we encounter. But I want to say that it is a daunting task to love the whole world a person at a time. And thank God it takes our whole life to do it.
Your eyes are moving like dark waters. I can't tell just how deep it goes. And I can't forgive the sins of your father. All I have is the grace to go wherever you are, not where you've been. I don't care, return to sender. There's only now, never back then. I wasn't there, I can't protect the beautiful child, helpless and wild, years and miles, ever my heart, wherever you are. If I said I'm not afraid, I'd be a liar. But not too afraid to be a keeper of your heart. I hope you bring me closer to the fire. I believe love shines brightest in the dark. Yes, it does. Wherever you are, not where you've been. carry turned to sender. There's only now, never back then. I wasn't there, I can't protect a beautiful child, helpless and wild. Years and miles have burned my heart, wherever you are, wherever you are.
So we have about 10 minutes that we wanted just to open it up, and if anybody had, I don't know, a thought or a comment, and then we're going to do a big old selfie that you're going to love.
Yeah, that's what I was going to make sure we did too.
We'll do it.
You keep one and have a volunteer to. Here's Lawrence has got a set, and there's a microphone. Sorry, and there's a microphone in the back of the room as well.
Thank you.
Tell us something about what some of other graduates are doing besides those who have stayed and worked in the Thistle Farms enterprise.
Okay, we have a graduate, Rachel, that graduated last year, and now she works at a real estate office. And she's numerous months, she's been the number one person in the office. We've had graduates that are at Thistle Farms, but they've gone on to get that master's degree. Sheila went back to school and got her master's and something else, yeah. Yeah, so we've had women to get married. On my way, y'all. But we've had women to get married and have children and turn their lives around. We have a graduate that's Becca's assistant. So we have women that really get our lives back and just move forward, yeah. Anyone else? Mm-hmm. Yes. Let me run this to you.
Microphone's coming.
I have a very simple question.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me? If you were to today decide that you wanted to do so, if we want to go downtown, go wherever in Wilmington, find how, I guess you'd have to find out where people are, where they hang out,
Yes.
and go, and what would you say to them?
What would we say to them?
Mm-hmm.
You talking about to the women on the street?
Yes.
Okay, so if you open a house, the women would definitely come because I wanted a place to go before I found out about the organization. But I will invite each and every one of you to come to Thistle Farms. We have what we call an education workshop day, where we might have 50 or 60 people from 17, 18 different states to come in, and they spend a day or so with us, and we tell them everything about Thistle Farms. Becca talks to you. If you want to see our books, we'll even show that to you. But we teach you all how we went out and raised the money to open a home. So we invite men to get involved because we really, hurt people. There are so many men out there that are sick and suffering that need the help as well as women. So if you all will come into Thistle Farms on an education workshop day, we have an amazing conference coming up in June the 9th through the 11th. Come in and spend some time with us and learn about what we do.
It's West Nashville on Charlotte Pike, 51st in Charlotte. Ah, lovely. Next to the Regions Gold Dome Bank. Yeah. We've got some upstairs.
We do have some upstairs, but we have an amazing online presence too. So thistlefarms.org, just saying. But we do have some online. But we have some at a table up in the exhibits hall as well. Yeah, we have long sleeve ones like this lady has on, like Becca has on. We have those like that, and then we have the short sleeve ones that says Love Heals Thistle Farms, short sleeve with a V-neck. So we have both. Yeah. She got a short. Yes.
Okay, so I hope that this is bringing up some really, these are easy questions that you're lobbing at us, and I appreciate that. But I hope that there are some things that you're thinking about within your congregation, in your life, that this is bringing up some stuff about what your leadership has been about and how you hope to move forward. And like I said, we want to be part of that journey with you. And I know the diocese is part of that journey, and especially is inviting us to come and letting this be a part of the focus for our life and our work together. And as that happens, just stay in touch with us, whatever it looks like. If you're ordering a t-shirt or you want to just ask some questions. We have teams and women dedicated just to answering those for new communities. And we have several communities in North Carolina that are working on this. And happy to connect you up with that if there was a group that wanted to. So thank you. I am going to be, like I said, we're all going to be up at the table for another hour or two just to sit and be there for some of those things that probably don't need to be maybe announced in the group, but maybe some more specific or personal questions that you want to ask. So we love you.
I'm sorry, I just want to say something because at dinner last night, a question was asked me. They were doing a thesis on prostitution, human trafficking, and they said they couldn't really use human trafficking, the sexual human trafficking. They could use the labor human trafficking. They couldn't use the sexual because some women choose that. And I just want to say that when I was in it, I chose it, but I've heard Becca say if prostitution is the choice, then what were the options? I didn't have any options till I came to Thistle Farms. And so if you offer these women options, then they take them.
Thanks, Jim.
Like I said, we love you. I'm sorry. And we love the Global Committee for inviting us, for the bishop for letting us have so much space and time at this convention. Go in peace to love and serve the Lord, and let's do a big old selfie. So what that means is you're going to stand up and kind of scoot towards the middle. Stand up and scoot towards the middle a little bit, and we're going to be like this. Woo! But not yet. I'll tell you when we're whooping. Hey, that's good. Take off that so you have that Love Heal shirt. That's perfect. Lindsay, you come up here, and you're going to get on the stage. You guys are going down here with us. Lindsay, you're the only one that's going to be on stage for this beautiful shout out that we're loving women who are still on the street, still trying to find their way home. That's what we're going to be doing. Will you hold my hand? You didn't hold it very well. You dropped it. You went just right down with it. You did a good job, though, by the way.